Eagles fans, welcome back to Eagle Watch, sponsored by Pizza Ranch. My name's Lucas, and next to me is head coach Matt Janis. This is a show where we talk all things UWL football, and this week the focus is on the road as the Eagles take on UW Whitewater, one of the biggest matchups of the season. Coach Matt Janis is here to help me break down how the bye was utilized here and what's working on offense, what's working on defense, and also what fans should know or expect for this upcoming matchup. So, Coach, thanks for joining me. Let's start with how the team utilized the bye.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bye week that we needed. And obviously, I know it's a little early in the season, only 2 games in, but we came off two really physical football games against two good opponents, obviously in the Carnegie and what they're doing and still nationally ranked, and then to play up a level against Wayne State in a really physical football game. So we needed the bye week just in terms to heal, to try to get our bodies back as best as possible. And so really on Monday and Tuesday, we were really light. Like I think we had meetings Monday and then nothing on Tuesday. So we tried to just give them the mental break too. And if you think about it, we were also on a bus all of a sudden 2 weeks ago. So we were coming back from Pittsburgh. So tried to give them just some time to hey, let's focus on school. Let's get caught up on some of that stuff. And then we really dove into everything then. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday was really kind of our big heavy days during the bye week. And so for part of it, we tried to again still rest some guys. There was a couple guys that were still banged up or sore, so we tried to rest them and try to give them an extra day or two. But we alternated between heavy and light practices, and we did some portions of it were more dedicated to our threes and some of our freshmen, and tried to get them extended teach time so that we can continuously develop them. Because obviously, as we go through now the hard part of our schedule and the Y-axis, we're going to need guys out of that group. So we can't just turn to them when maybe an injury happens. We're trying to develop those guys and get them ready. And then as we went through the week, we introduced more and more of Whitewater. So we started really slow on Wednesday and just said, hey, here's kind of some of their base things, base coverages, base formation. And then we kind of picked up a little bit on Thursday and Friday and Saturday as we kind of went throughout the week. We didn't want to spend the whole bye week on them, but we also wanted to get a little bit of a head start and utilize some of the extra days that we had. So I think it was really productive, was really happy with our bye week. And I preached to our team, hey, we want to win the bye week first and foremost. And I feel, and I think I told you that last week, Lucas, that I don't think I did a good enough job on the bye week last year. So we tried to learn some lessons from that and put those steps and kind of install some of that stuff that we kind of reflected on from last year, and really felt like it came away. I thought our kids were really focused, which in years past, and sometimes we've had during the bye week, it's hard because there's not an opponent in front of you on Saturday. It's kind of like going back to being in fall camp again. And so, and so I thought our kids and our leadership really stayed focused on our bye week, focused on whatever we had, whether it was us, whether it was our scheme, whether it was some good on good stuff, whether it was Whitewater. I just really liked the way our group kind of focused this last week.
Yeah, bye weeks, you need them, right?
Yep.
You need them to recover, you need them to rest, even though they can be kind of out of whack just because of the break of routine and stuff like that. But I love how you mentioned, the younger classmen here. So how are they looking here?
That's a group that's now, and it is tough, especially for a freshman that come in, right? Because you come in and you're all everything, and then you get to the first part of camp and you're just trying to stay afloat, right? It's a new playbook, it's a new environment, it's new everything. So you're just trying to stay afloat for it's the first part of those 3 weeks. And then, as you get into the season, then it's okay, well, I see where I'm at on the depth chart, I see what I have, I see what's, so for them, you need to keep developing them, you need to keep growing them, we need to keep giving them opportunities within our scheme, because a lot of times during the week, right, they're running the opponent's scheme, right? They're on the scout team, so they're running that. So we try to utilize at least 10 to 15-minute periods almost every day where we can get them reps of our scheme, and our coaches can just coach the heck out of that group and continuously to get that group moving forward. And I think as we go through, like I said, as we go through WIAC play, I think that's when we're going to start to see freshmen play. As injuries start to happen, as fatigue starts to happen, you're going to start to see freshmen all of a sudden crack in the lineup on special teams or crack into the lineup in maybe the 2 or 3 deep here as we come along. So really important to us that we keep growing that group.
Yeah, definitely. So assuming you guys watched a lot of film, maybe of the last 2 matchups that you guys had, are there any certain areas that you want to fine tune before you're taking on Whitewater here?
I think, it's again, continue to get into our base schemes and obviously fine tune our technique. And again, it's not like, it's like a record, right? You're almost like on repeat all the time. Like, hey, step here, eyes here, eyes here. Just continuously trying to chase perfection within our schemes. I think, offensively, I think, like I said, being able to adjust it during the game and throughout the game, like we talked about last week, was really impressed with that stuff. And again, with them, and especially going into this week, it's technique with them, it's discipline with them. And then defense, I think we're just trying to shore up some coverages a little bit, some of our zone coverages, and trying to, just tweak a little bit of our rules. And as you go throughout the season on a week-to-week basis, like we're all running the same schemes pretty much, but based on your opponent or what your opponent does, you're kind of making those tweaks as you go throughout the week and throughout game week.
So the Eagles travel on the road to Whitewater. We're going to break it all down here, but first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Pizza Ranch of La Crosse.
Pizza Ranch serves buffet your way. Dive into our buffet featuring a variety of legendary pizzas, crispy fried chicken, and classic American sides. And don't miss out on the excitement of our Fun Zone arcade. Pizza Ranch, everyone's favorite buffet.
Preparing for Whitewater here. What makes Whitewater so dang special? The energy's always there. The vibes are, tense. Yeah. How do you get the team so focused for this special matchup?
Yeah, I don't think I have to do much, to be honest, and I'm sure Jace Vindal's sitting there, their head coach, and probably sitting there doing the same thing. I don't think you have to do much. I think players on both sides understand the magnitude of this game, and I think everybody on both sides is excited to play in it. I mean, I think you go to both of these schools to play in games like this, in our league, and I think you play in our league because you're going to have games like this continuous to happen. We got River Falls, we got Oshkosh this weekend too. Like this is how our league goes, and so I think our kids understand it. I think there's a kind of two different cultures that are playing on the football field, but they do. They have a tremendous football program. I think it's a program that for whatever reason this offseason nobody talked a lot about, where I did, because I knew what they were capable of. Obviously the resources that they have are phenomenal at that institution, but on top of it, their head coach, Jason Vindal's really good. They have really good coaches on their staff. And I know Jason and I don't talk. Maybe one day when we'll retire, we'll shut ourselves in a room and talk defensive football. I'd probably love that. But he's a really good head coach. He's got a really good defensive staff. Their linebacker coach, their defensive line coach, those guys have been together, and they continue to put a really good defensive product on the football field. And then there was some changes within their offensive structure. And I think with that program, obviously, first and foremost, they're about running the football, and so the offensive line coach is really important. They brought in a really good offensive line coach, and then they brought in a really good offensive coordinator who does some really different things and a lot of trade shifts and motions. I went down a rabbit hole the other day, and he's kind of from the Northern Illinois kind of tree, and so I'm sitting there watching 2014 Northern Illinois offense, because he's bringing some of that stuff back to the table with the quarterback run game and the different shifts and counters off of that. So it's not only a really good head coach, but it's really good coaches within that program, and then on top of it, they have really good football players, and so this is a top five, whatever everybody's ranked. This is a top five matchup in the country. This is a two top five football programs going at each other on Saturday, and so I think, to answer your first question, for our guys, what could you not be excited about? What do I need to motivate anybody on this week? Yeah,
sometimes with true rivalries, you really don't have to do much. It's naturally you're ready, and a lot of respect, obviously, from your words, which is it's cool to hear that. Like you mentioned in episode 1, where it's the hatred with these other teams. It's there, but you got respect.
No, like I said, really good coaches. Their schemes are really sound. They're really disciplined. They play with technique, and then on top of it, there's really good football players. If you look at their defense, right? The good thing is their defensive line and some of their defensive backs just wear the same numbers, although it's a new player, so there's a good number 0 on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Different kid this year, but there's number 0 on that program.
It's natural.
There's a defensive back that's wearing number 11. That's really good. That's just kind of continues. Number 5, there's just some really good players on their defense. Number 10 is still there in the center of their defense, and their will linebacker, number 8. Those guys are really nationally ranked linebackers.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and so they bring those players on defense, and then on offense they got a quarterback. Obviously, it's going to revolve around him. not just the pass game, but really the run game and what he's able to do is he's always going to provide a +1. Like no matter what they do, it's a +1. You got to account for the quarterback at all times. And then really the focal point of everything, and offense, special teams, is the number 7. And he's been doing it in our league for a while. He's a really, really good returner. I think he's got like 5 or 6 career return touchdowns. And then on top of it, like all the stuff he's doing on their offense. They got him in motion constantly. He's in the backfield constantly. They're trying to get the ball to him, and they do a really good job of that, and really physical up front. So there's like the respect for the coaches, but also the talent and the players that they have are phenomenally good.
A lot of challenges, as you can hear. Coach is prepared, though. You know all these challenges. You know all the strengths that this team has. But let's talk about you guys. 2 wins. You just had your bye week. And now what's the mindset you want this team, the Eagles, to carry on into UW Whitewater?
I think we got tested well in the non-conference. And that's what you want, right? As you get into the conference play, like you want to be tested. And what I mean by tested is that I felt in both of our games, we had to deal with momentum swings, and we kind of had to deal with lulls in the way, like, not just scoring on every drive as an offense, right? Defense maybe giving up a touchdown and having to come back from that. So we were tested, not just from the schematics, not just from physicality, not just from like speed, but we were tested from just an overall game swing, right? And so as we go into WIAC play and as we go into Saturday, like, there's going to be momentum swings back and forth, and like we have to do such, and we have so far, and we have to continue to do that, like of understanding that, like, hey, there's going to be explosive plays that we have, and you know what? They're going to have explosive plays, and it's just going to go back and forth.
Sometimes it's all about timing too.
It is,
it's
and
like
it
if
is.
this happens in the fourth quarter, like
it is. It's going to be timing, and so like for us, like, and that's what I was so happy with our performance against Wayne State, right? And I hope that we can build off that. Like when stuff's going down, like right, like our offense was struggling in the first quarter, so our defense had to pick themselves up. Yeah. They had to keep it a game, and then it kind of switched as the game went on. And so being able to handle all those momentum swings and ups and downs throughout the course of the game, and as a team stay together and not lose focus and not go to the bench and be like, oh, what the heck's going on, and not all of a sudden just lose your mind and not do the right technique on a play. And so that's what I really was happy about the non-conference season, because now as we head into the hardest part of our schedule, and now the real stuff, like, that's going to matter. Yeah. That's going to matter not just in this game, but as we go through the rest of this season.
A lot of pieces coming together here. So Eagles fans, they travel well. They travel really nicely. What's your message to Eagles Nation as they, pack the car and get ready to head to Whitewater?
Hearing a lot of students, like I just heard like some, my friend's going, this friend's going, like, so that's good. I do. I think there's going to be, I don't know. My feeling is I feel like we're going to be close to setting the Division III attendance record here. Nice. I do feel like that for an on-campus game. I think it's going to be a huge environment. We're trying to prep for that. We got our coaches. We can't even hear each other, like next to each other anymore at practice. We're trying to turn up the crowd. We're trying to prepare for that type of environment that it's going to bring. So we need as much maroon in that place as humanly possible. So.
You heard him. Get to Whitewater this Saturday at 1 p.m. Should be a really great game. Looking forward to reading about it, hearing about it, and talking next week about it on next week's episode of Eagle Watch. So, Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thanks, Lucas, and go Eagles.
Go Eagles.